So I was carrying something that was really heavy that definitely would have been stamped team lift, but it was manageable once I got it up to my shoulder and was able to balance it. I realized pretty quickly, though, when it came time to set it down, that it was going to be a challenge to get it to the ground without damaging it. So I got it to my shoulder and I was going to just try to slide it gently down. But because of the weight of this thing and, of course, gravity, it started going a little bit faster than I intended. And I probably would have damaged it had not a lip that was around this thing knocked me right on top of the head. Have you ever been hit by something so solidly that you just went black for a few moments? This was definitely one of those times. However, through that blackness, something else came very clear, and that was that I should not have attempted to carry this thing on my own. There are a lot of things that we just aren't capable of doing by ourselves. And I was struck really clearly with this reasoning with this Old Testament reading. It comes from Leviticus chapter 4, verses 1 through 3. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the people of Israel, saying, If anyone sins unintentionally in any of the Lord's commandments about things not to be done, and does any one of them, if it is the anointed priest who sins, thus bringing guilt on the people, then he shall offer for the sin that he has committed a bull from the herd without blemish to the Lord for a sin offering. I know it seems like a completely random reading and not connected any to knocking myself unconscious, that story, but stick with me for just a few minutes. Catch what was going on here. It was instructions for the priest whose job it was to offer up sacrifices for the people of Israel to make atonement for when he sinned. It is a sad but much needed necessity because of the failure of man. It is also the knock on the head, that moment of clarity when we realize just how important the sacrifice Christ made for us was, and how no one else but God who came to earth could have done that for us. Listen to this reading. It's from Hebrews chapter 9, and it's verse 11 through 14. But when Christ appeared as high priest of the good things that have come, then through the greater and more perfect tent, not made with hands, that is, not of this creation, he entered once for all into the holy places, not by means of blood and goats and calves, but by means of his own blood, thus securing an eternal redemption. For if the blood of goats and bulls and the sprinkling of defiled persons with the ashes of a heifer sanctify for the purification of the flesh, how much more will the blood of Christ, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without blemish to God, purify our conscience from dead works to serve the living God? Christ was both our high priest who offers up the prayers on our behalf and also the pure blood sacrifice to atone for our sins. This was a perfect sacrifice offered up not by an imperfect man who needed his sins atoned for, just like all the rest of the people, but by a man without sin offering his own blood of a new covenant and a permanent fix for the sins of the world, for our sins. There is nothing that should be a bigger knock on the head, offering up a moment of clarity, than that love of God and what he has for us, and just how far that God is willing to go for us to be reconciled to him. I hope you take some time this week to contemplate this fact of God as you take time to center your life on his purpose.